Mishlei 2029. Yeah.
The glory of.
Oh, okay, yes. I thought you had a question. All right. Let me read the puzzle first. Teferis, bakurim, kocham, Hadar, zucchanim, seva. Yeah, go ahead. The glory.
The glory of young men is their strength.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say youths because I like youths. Yeah.
Youths.
Yeah.
And the some synonym for glory of elder folk.
Elder folk, nice.
I think it literally means the gray hair, right?
Yes, correct. Nice. Okay, good. And the let's use okay, we're gonna do this just because like I absorbed art scrolls, like since I learned how to read with art scroll, I absorbed their like common go-to words. So I think they love translating Teferis as splendor. Okay, the splendor of use is their strength. We can change it as we go. And the glory of, I like elder folk. That's not a word apparently. Of elders is their so you're correct. Literally, seva means gray hair, okay, or white hair, but seva also means like no, that's with a ayin, is old age, right? Like for example, we say in Torah. No, we don't say that. What am I saying? Never mind. It means old age. Yeah. Okay, but it literally means gray hair. Actually, in fact, it so much literally means gray hair that I'm going to put this in parentheses because that's just the implication. Okay, Sadigon gives a very, very subtle retranslation of the pasuk. Teferis bakurim hakoach ume Hadar zucchanim seva. What's the major change he's making there in his translation? May. Yeah, ha also, but so how would you translate Teferis bakurim?
From Teferis, playing with their other.
Yes, correct. Okay, good. So I'm going to translate it as among the splendor of youth, and you are correct because it's specifically young men, not like young maidens. All right, is the strength. Okay, so I don't know why he takes away the possessive. Right, kocham is in the pasuk, but koach, hakoach, he just says there, and among the glory of the elders is the gray hair. Okay, Targum Ksuvim I think is just a literal translation unless anyone sees something different. Shivhora, which I just looked up, just means glory. The ulemaya of youths tukvehon is their strength or their power. Ushvacha, shvacha desave sivsa. The shevach, right? The praise of the elders is their gray hair. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to have like a 30-second class where someone translates a pasuk. Are they translating to try to make it as literal as possible with the pasuk, or they're translating, but however, they're also conveying some idea within their translation?
Good question. We're gonna go to the Rama for a second. I think I wrote something on this. We'll find out.
It seems like they're trying to force in a direction, which is fine. I'm just curious, like.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so let me share the screen. So the Rambam wrote a letter, or responded to a letter from Shmuel ibn Tibon, right, who was his main translator, and he says in this letter, this is September 30th, 1199.
It's translated into which language?
From Arabic into Hebrew. Yeah, because Rambam wrote all of his works in Arabic except for the Mishnah Torah and a few like letters. So he wrote, I will mention to you one general principle. This is like his translation advice. Whoever wishes to translate a text from one language to another, intending to translate word for word, but at the same time to preserve the order of the words and sentences of the original, he will face tremendous difficulty and his translation will be exceedingly ambiguous and faulty. It is not proper to do this. Rather, one who translates a text from one language to another must first understand the idea, and only afterwards should he formulate what he understood into the other language. It is impossible to do this without changing the order of the words, using many words in place of one word, using one word in place of many words, subtracting words or adding words until the idea is formulated and rendered intelligible in the language into which he translates. So that's what we mean when we say that, like, every translation is a commentary, because it has to pass through your mind in order to go into the other language. So in terms of what they're trying to do, they're trying to, like, by virtue of calling them a translation, they're trying to minimize the deviations from the author's intent. But if you see something that is not present in the author's words, then you should assume that's how they understood the idea. Unless it's a translation like Targum Yerushalmi that like adds midrashic content in just for the sake of like spicing it up.
Right. It's very interesting because like at a certain point it could become like the game telephone.
Right. Yeah. That's why if you've ever done, or use a modern analogy, if you've ever done Google Translate and then Hebrew into English or whatever language, and then you click the thing that makes it reverse it,
right?
To translate like back and forth, and then it changes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right. Was that a no? No. Okay. Okay. You get some weird stuff. Like you get like a thing like Google Translate, and you translate from Hebrew into English, and then you make Google Translate that English back into Hebrew. Then the Hebrew's different already. Sometimes you could go like several times, and then it gets all. It's a new thing. Yeah. So you're right. That's the pitfall of translating, and that's also why with
So Sadigon, he is translating it.
Oh, so I'll explain what Sadigon is, right? So Sadigon, Mishlei was obviously written in Hebrew.
Right.
Sadigon wrote a thing called the Tafsir, which is a translation of Tanakh into Arabic. And then what we have here is Kafich translating Sadigon's Arabic back into Hebrew. So it's a double translation, So he's trying to bring out the little deviations that Sadigon had.
Right. Kafich is a Rama guy.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so speaking of translations, let's just look at the Art Scroll Living Nach and Altar. Art Scroll says the splendor of youth is their strength, the glory of the old is their hoariness. Okay, HOAR means I think it means literally like frostiness, like hoarfrost is white. Living Nach says the glory of young men is their strength, the majesty of elders, majesty, that's another one, Hadar, is their white hair. The splendor of young men is the strength, the glory of elders, gray hair. Okay, I don't think there's anything new here.
Also beauty. Hadar is also beauty.
Hadar is also beauty. Yeah. So this is kind of what we have to. Well, let's just ask this question at the outset. What are Teferis and Hadar? What are Teferis and Hadar? Right? Are they synonyms or do they have different meanings? Okay. What else? Yeah, Yaakov?
How is Koach a Teferis?
Yeah. How is the Koach of bakurim a Teferis? Now, are you just asking that generically, or you're saying that there's some sort of like problem or weirdness in calling the Koach a Teferis? Generically, fine. Yeah. If anyone has a weirdness that they see, then yeah.
Also, in the second half, how is Hadar?
How is seva a Hadar? Yeah.
But also, most bakurim presumably have Koach, and most old people have halves. So
Right.
what does it mean that's
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so in other words, when you say a Teferis or a Hadar, like some sort of beauty or glory, I think like the assumption or the feeling at least is like this is like an outstanding quality, But like you're saying, like most especially since most bakurim presumably have koach, right? And this is especially since most zucchanim have seva, right? In other words, it's a it's not an outstanding quality if there's something that characterizes them. Yeah.
Can you have people with both?
Can you have people with both?
I mean, like, can you have a young person who has the glory of an elder? Vice versa.
Okay, good question. Yeah. I thought you meant can you be a Bachor and a Zakin? I was gonna say Merlin is the only one.
Possibly, depending how the translate is.
Yeah, right. So is it possible to have both Koach and seva? The pasuk implies not, but the question is like once we understand these qualities, then
And the implicit question within that question is like what's the difference between it? What's the connotation of either one?
Of seva and Koach?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we have to ask that first, right, as a definition thing. What is Koach in this context, and what is seva in this context. Yeah. Also, it's funny. I don't know if this is different back then, but like this might just be a culturally like specific question. But it's funny how like nowadays a lot of old people don't like when they look old, you know, and like it's possible that in Klal Yisrael then that was different because we associate old age with chachma. But like you got to imagine that people get old in every society, and like when they get old, they get weak. So like as soon as a person's hair starts turning white, they're like, "Uh-oh, I'm close to death," you know. And so like my question, I guess, is like when he's telling you, I guess, what's the havamina? Maybe that's a good way to put it. Okay, what's the havamina of each thing? I'll explain what I mean in a second. What is the havamina of each statement? Okay, in other words, do bakurim think that their koach is not their Teferis, or is it, do they think that something else is their Teferis? Okay, and then same for zucchanim, meaning are they like, do you have to tell the zakin something like, oh, by the way, you think that something else is your hadar? No, it's your hair, you know, or like you think your hair is not your hadar? Kamash Malan, it is. Yeah, Yaakov.
What is the relationship between drag?
Yes.
Is it like bakurim, is but is a kinin for them?
Okay.
Seva, or is it just two complementary
Okay, good.
things that make it hidden half the bakurim?
Okay, good. So what is the relation between the two halves? So are they opposites? In which case the vav should be but, or are they both, so to speak, one side of the pasuk? Exciting theme music here. This means we're getting close to the idea. And there is an unstated other half. Yeah. Like,
so I'm just wanting to know if these are both physical.
Yes.
Which isn't very Mishlei.
That's a good point, right? So where should we locate this? Is it physical? Sorry, is it physical? If so, ain't very Mishleic. Okay, and then is it physical? If so, ain't very Mishleic. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
The havamina, your question.
Yeah.
Would be that the kingdom are not like seva. Instead of saying that their hair.
Right. So that I think structurally, I think structurally that is possible that it's a havamina, but I feel like no one has that havamina, you know, because like yeah. Right. Unless you're like, you know, in a culture where they all are balding, you know, they don't have any. Yeah. No, but like you're structurally that could be. And I think if you actually, let's put it this way, if you said that seva was not a physical quality, then maybe you can say that, you know, more, and same thing with koah. Yeah.
Just say demonstrate.
Yeah.
And it's for like in the pasuk of zakin.
Yeah.
Say zakim.
Yeah.
Their zakin is a chacham, and say as an old person, right?
Yeah. That's when I started to when we were translating seva, I thought it was the other way around. So I started to like object, and then I realized, yeah, zakin there means a chacham, and seva means an old person.
I was thinking that pasuk is someone walks around with gray hair, everybody's got their thing.
It's a good technique, yeah. Or that's why the founding fathers of America wore the gray wigs, you know? Yeah. That probably is why they wore the gray wigs, actually, now that I think about it, right? I mean, in England also, is that like, why gray? Like, presumably it was like a distinguished, you know, like thing to have gray hair. Interesting. Maybe this will be in the new trend after we get the idea from the pasuk, you know, instead of straw hats, it'll be gray, instead of gray hats, it'll be gray wigs, yeah. Yeah. And then zakin, yeah, the zakin there means zeh shekana chachma. That's the Chazal's notricon. It's possible. Yeah, it is possible. The only reason I would say not is because the combination of seva and zakin makes it sound like it is a literal old person. Yeah.
Are there any other translations with Teferis?
Yeah. Let's just quickly look at the Al HaTorah one. They're all going to be like somewhat similar here, but I'll show you anyway. Okay. You know where Teferis is most used in Chumash in reference to? Say again? Yeah, Kohanim, right? The big day kahuna, I think. So Teferis, beauty, glory, beauty finery, glory, honor, glorying, boasting. Yeah, so all like glory stuff. Yeah, like or splendor stuff. Yeah. Okay, I feel like we got there's also another question, which is this is one where we definitely need to ask what's the practical application, right?
Who's the audience?
You learn from here, you should grow old. So what is the practical application? And then so who's the audience? I think it is a question, but like who do you assume is the audience? Oh, really? Okay, I guess it is a question. I would assume that it's telling the bakurim about the first half and then the zucchanim about the second half. But so we'll add this because apparently you guys think differently. So
Talking to everybody. Everybody goes to that stage.
yeah,
Yeah. I was
except possibly women, right? Because if this is talking about
no, women are-
specifically men, then
It's
yeah.
not specifically men, it's not
Yeah.
specifically men, it's like the,
yeah.
why can't women be included?
Well, just because koach, if koach is physical strength, then women are weak. No, then then it's not.
Oh, that's being recorded.
I know, yeah, that's why I said it in a
Send this
sarcastic
to
tone.
your, students.
Yeah. Is the audience the bakurim and zucchanim, or is it everyone else who and then if it's everyone else, is it because they all go through these or similar stages, or is it because they interact with bakurim and zucchanim, right?
Right.
Yeah, David?
Another question from what Elliot asked earlier.
Yeah.
Physical things.
Yeah.
So are these like physical things in which we're assuming that there's a something you should do with these physical characteristics of yours?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I don't know if that's
Yeah, that would be in the, I assume, route, one way of answering the practical application question, right? Yeah, it's a good question though. Also, I feel like we should incorporate Sadigon's translation difference into the questions, which is, are these qualities the Teferis and Hadar, or are they one of them, right? Like, is it like, what's the one glory thing that makes old people glorious is their hair? Or is it like, no, there's their hair, then there's wisdom, then there's their whatever, because Sadigon is obviously going out of his way to say that. Yeah.
What would you say if you take like one is okay, but what are the other ones?
Well, you might have other pasukim about the other ones. For example, in fact, that made me think of another pasuk. I believe there's one that says that the glory of old people. Oh, that's the glory of old people. Hold on. Teferis zucchanim. There's got to be a commentary or a sefer called Teferis zucchanim, right? It's a great title. So it's slightly different, but you see here, Ateris zucchanim b'nei banim, v'tiferis banim avosam. So the crown of elders is grandchildren, and the splendor of children is their parents. So it's not exactly the same terms, but like you could have other pasukim which identify other qualities. Yeah, meaning the fact that the pasuk is just giving one of them, like that's also a Mishlei thing where it'll highlight one particular idea, and then there are other pasukim or other things that have other ideas.
Right. What would be the chiddush then? That this is one of them?
Well, yeah, then the chiddush would depend on how you learn the Havamina. Yeah, like either that you would think that these are not one of them, or that you would think that something else overshadows it, something like that. Yeah, Arya?
Are we ready for answers?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just try to make this full screen thing. Yeah, go ahead.
You see it to analysis.
I did this time. I did it before. I was Roas Anolat. I saved it before she started. But thank you for reminding me.
Right. All right. I have an approach and
That's too small, right?
it's coming
Yeah,
from
fine.
because I want to include women to things now. The approach is going to satisfy that.
Okay. So you're saying they need a man to include them?
I think so. Well, they have to get in somehow. Someone has to open the door
Yeah.
from the other side. Okay, fine. Here's the answer. The
Okay.
answer is, I think that like, when the framework here is going to be how one approaches life.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
And I think generally speaking, when you're young, you kind of just approach life with like a carefree attitude. There's a pro and a con to that. The pro is like you're willing to like plow through,
Yeah.
certain areas with vigor, and that's great. That can get you can break into more ideas and lifestyles and whatever. But if it's not done appropriately, it can the consequence of that is you can just lose sight of the impact if you don't do it properly.
Okay, that's good. And I just want you're making me think of that's not the whole idea yet, right? That's half the first half. Yeah. So you're raising a question though, which we didn't ask, which is what are bakurim and zucchanim? I don't think we asked that, right? Because bakur, are we talking like a teenager, or are we talking like up until like what is it? Doesn't Avos say ben shloshim lekoach, right? I think that's the so like how old can you get while and still be in the category of bakur, and then like how old do you have to be, and then shivim is seva. Yeah, right. So like, are we talking like, in other words, are these like specific ages? Is it like a certain stage of life, and like that might change now that we're in a society where like adolescence is prolonged, like for a much longer time, So just to repeat what you said, because I think it's really good, is that the koach here is not physical strength, right? Yeah. It's a certain like you said, plowing forward, right? Like a plowing forward. I don't know. There's got to be a good English word for that, right? But where you will be able to
brazen.
Yeah, brazen, but without the negative connotation of brazen, right? Like
no, with the negative.
With the negative connotation.
With it, I mean, well, it depends on. Well, that's the kınim side didn't answer that, but without you having the knowledge, the zucchanim, if you're brazen, there are negative consequences if you just have.
Correct. Yeah, right. But the quality though is being portrayed as positive here, Teferis, right? So I didn't want to say brazen. Like I'll tell you what I understood you to mean, and then we could like maybe explore what this quality is. Is there's a certain like naive ambition of like I can change the world, or like I can do anything. I can be the greatest blank, and it's an asset psychologically because it makes you go forward. And yeah, it's an overestimation of the self, which like Ariel's saying can have liabilities, but it also like if you it's confidence, and that confidence itself can actually make you strive and work harder and like ignore haters and stuff like that, and accomplish things. And you do lose it as you get older, like you become more mature and realistic, and you resign yourself to the fact that like things aren't so quick to change, So I think that's a good candidate for what the co-op is, and it's a Teferis because it actually does. It's an asset, Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. And then the zucchanim. Do you have
and the zucchanim. I mean, like you said, they're more reserved. They're more, they have their either they lost their desire to plow forward as they once did, or they're just because they've lived in the world for so long, they've already they feel like it's like the more the less the less you want to just jump right into it.
Yeah.
I think that it has a benefit because it allows you to take a step back and analyze the whole situation. But I also feel like if it's done if it's completely on the extreme, you're not going to move forward. You have to have that balance between. I think the relationship with this pasuk is you need both.
Okay.
Which is very important, and I think women can also do that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I agree. So, comment just on that, and then we'll go to Aaron and David. Is my one question is not like a problem question, but like how does that? I understand how your first interpretation fits into the word koach. But the second interpretation fitting into seva, I think your second thing fit in better, which is like the fact that they've made it this far. Like white hair is evidence that you have lived for a certain amount of time. So it is talking about like the the fact that they've been around for so long, I think that's a better candidate for what the seva is, so I just want to like flesh that out a little bit. Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah. So the pasuk is clearly written in like a positive,
Yeah.
entirely positive. Right?
Yeah.
So the side of the bakurim, like I didn't hear the negative part of this kingdom. I heard the negative part of the bakurim also.
Right. So the negative part of this kingdom is that they don't have that ambition of the of the bakurim, which means it's not intrinsically negative, but it means that whatever advantage the bakurim got by charging forward, the zucchanim are not going to be able to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so can you read the negative parts instead of pasuk also?
Yeah. So Teferis bakurim kocham, the glory of the youths is their strength, means that because they have the self-confidence and naive ambition, then they will be able to accomplish things that other people can't accomplish. But the negative is they're going to take risks that might harm them. They might be overconfident. They might be blind to their own, their own limitations or the world's limitations, which the zucchanim don't have. So the zucchanim have the advantage of worldly experience, and they will be cautious and wise and mature, but they also won't be able to plow forward and completely reinvent themselves and change the world in the same way as they used to. Yeah.
It's a mindset type of thing, because
right.
You could be old and
so that's one of the questions. That's why this is your question, right? About is it possible to have both, right? So I think it is interesting because according to the way we're taking it now, you can have old people who retain their youthful koach. I just read the biography of Leonardo da Vinci, the Walter Isaacson one, and talk about a guy who always was trying to innovate and change things, and completely exploring his own creativity in from the time he was young until he died, he had that, or Rabbi Moskowitz, I would say Lahavdil, but no, Rabbi Moskowitz and Da Vinci are both, geniuses in this way, at least, is that Rabbi Moskowitz was constantly reinventing himself. The whole thing was every couple of years, his whole derech halimud of Mishlei would change, and it would be a constant reinvention of himself, and he was very youthful in that way. And similarly, you do have sometimes a youth who has a maturity and foresight and wisdom of old age that might just I don't know if it's a result of nature or nurture or whatever, but yeah, so it is possible to have both, but this is the norm that it's expressing. Yeah David.
Yeah, so taking a lot of things with Don Arnold's group.
Yeah.
If these are things, at least both for the bakurim and the koach and the zucchanim and seva,
yeah,
if these are things that are strongholds or things that they're very well, they're very good at. Yeah. Then to have a recognition that this is something that you're good at, and then to use your strength for a greater good. Yeah. Where say if you know you're youthful and you've got a lot of energy and you can keep plowing through something, then using that for whatever you're going to find as the good, and then to use that for that. And then the zucchanim, where they have this greater knowledge of things, they can see things as a larger scale, larger scope, and then go about things in a more diligent, more thought out, precise way. Yeah. Okay, good. I don't know if this is, I'm going to try to merge. Yeah. Also, one other thing, they actually work next to them kind of as a tag team. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, go ahead. Okay. Where it seems there's a nice tag team there. We have either a sucking could be helping out, giving advice to the doctor who's really able to keep pushing forward, actually doing more of the practicalities of it. Yeah. While these came to see more of what's the greater objective. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking as a candidate for the practical implication here, and I think this is one application of what you meant when you said you need both. Is that you can't, if you're an average bakur, you can't get that wisdom yet. And if you're an average zaken, you've lost that koach, but both can complement each other in terms of the bakur who's going to, let's say, start a new business, and he's out there doing this, taking these risks and plowing forward. He would benefit from talking to a zaken to get a different perspective to factor in, and it's not going to get rid of his koach. He's still going to that's who he is right now. He's a koach driven person. Similarly, there are, and it would be a mistake, many bakurim do, of just completely ignoring, oh, that's just some old guy, what does he know? So similarly, the zaken, has this worldly perspective, but there is a danger of becoming stuck in your old way of viewing the world,
and like giving up hope that there's any sort of change, or like or thinking that these kids are just like like just wildly like unrealistic, and so you can like learn from that as well, so they can benefit each other.
My partner,
Yeah.
happens to be I'm not gonna say zucchanim,
Yeah.
So he's a zucchanim.
Yeah.
So I take advantage of his
Yeah.
He takes advantage of my willingness to change the world.
Yeah, that's good.
That's basically how.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like it is actually I don't know statistics, but I feel like actually I don't know. I was gonna say the I feel like it's easier for bakurim to take into account the wisdom from elders than elders to take into account the innovation from and drive from youths, because I think because elders view themselves as intrinsically wiser, then it's very easy for them to just like, you're a kid, what do you know? But maybe I'm biased because I'm closer to the bakur end than the zakin end.
You can also say on the other side, oh, you're outdated. Things have moved on.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just dismissing them. And yeah, right. That's the
It's like I do see that. Like,
right.
Oh,
let's put it this way: in our society, I think the problem is definitely that, because we are in a very progressive society. And when I say society, I don't just mean America. I mean like the world changes very, very fast, much faster now than it did during our grandparents' time. So I feel like there is a default assumption of like, yeah, that was then, this is now, and like they don't have anything to offer, which is dangerous, obviously.
Right.
Okay. So this is a good approach, right? Any other approaches like?
Yeah, I have a different approach.
Oh yeah, Isaac.
Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry, I was muted, I think. Say again.
Okay. Yeah. No, I heard you.
No, you're muted.
Yeah.
Or you're something's going on with the audio.
Headphones. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
My audio is. Oh. Zoom was muted. Now it's talk.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah. Why did Zoom get muted? That's weird. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So my approach is that koach is physical strength.
Okay.
And the audience is the bakur.
Yeah. Ooh, I got another now also. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first half is the kind of like the havamina that young people have, which is they take a lot of like their like satisfaction in themselves from their physical their physical strength.
Yeah.
And the thing is that that's fleeting,
Mm-hmm.
So it's telling the person, this is what like this is what you're taking glory in now, but it's showing them that it's going to shift over time, that like
Mm-hmm.
like the glory of old people is not how physically strong they are, or like their physical capabilities. It's in their seva.
Okay, and are you saying seva is also physical?
I'm not explaining what seva is.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm taking an approach that starts off in the same place, but is more extreme. And I'm fully willing to admit that this might not be pshat. Okay, you can accuse me of this not being pshat. Okay, but I think it's a good idea anyway, which is that this pasuk is about fools. Okay, that the youth basically treat their koach as their glory, and that's really false. Sorry, treat the koach as their splendor, as their glory. That they think that is what makes them like superior, or that's going to like lead them to success. And the old people think that like their old age is what makes them glorious. And really, you can have an old idiot and you can have a strong idiot. Like that's not, none of these are true human glory if they're talking about physical stuff. So and I think, by the way, I would expand koach here to mean not just like how much you can bench press, but like all physical like perfection, of koach. And then seva meaning not just white hair, but reaching that age. And I think, just to use an example of this, I did not realize. Okay, One benefit of Trump for me was I think I had a thought that by the time you get to the age of 70, you don't make certain immature mistakes, and he was just a living refutation of that, and obviously like any old person can make mistakes. I was like many times watching him, it's like the type of thing that like a teenage like YouTube commenter like would make, and this is not a policy comment, this is a commentary on like his maturity, and I think there's this feeling of like, I realize in myself I make immature decisions right now, or like I react to what people think of me, or like, but I'll outgrow that, as soon as I just get to be a certain age, like I will have moved past that. And you see from him that no, like you can get to that age, and like age doesn't like automatically like perfect you. Kind of like what there's a point that Rebbe makes on the parenting shiurim where he says that parents have this like mistake that they think that because once they become a parent, that somehow gives them a perfection, and like no, to the contrary, like you can be even more imperfected when you're a parent than when before you have kids, because then your emotions get caught up in your kids. Yeah, David.
Yeah, what you're saying sounds like
yes. Yeah, meaning the pasuk is stated as if like they have their horses and they have their chariots and we have the Shem Hashem, but no, it's like no, they erroneously have their horses, which they take trust and security in, and they erroneously have their their chariots, and this is like these people take security in their koach and their seva. Yeah. Okay, let's start looking at meforshim. Any other ideas here? But Isaac, do you see what I mean when I say like I'm taking the first half the same way you are, and I think you're taking it as saying the Teferis of bakurim, the bakurim think that their Teferis is the koach, but when they get older, then they're going to have a different Teferis or a different glory, which is going to be the seva, and that's true. And I'm saying that no, both of them have both problems.
Yeah, okay.
I'm also taking it physically. Yeah, physically, again, with the understanding that we're not just talking about physical strength, but all youthfulness, and not just white hair, but all old age. But I am taking it physically. Yeah.
I didn't really have like that much of an idea for the second half. I like my real thought was about the first half.
Yeah, Ellie.
Is kokum just a synonym to something like chazaka?
Well, what do you mean by chazaka?
Like, was it or strength? I don't know.
Like actual physical strength? Yeah. So you could take it that way. I was taking it as like all vitality qualities of youthfulness, but you could definitely take it. I mean, the plain shot is that it is like physical strength. Right. That's also true. Right. Meaning that
I'm not necessarily taking it physically.
No. But you're saying the women thing.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Like
yeah.
You are fine with physical.
Yeah. Correct. And I think you could also say seva is frailty, is like the opposite of koach, and new idea.
All right.
Which is, I think I'm getting this from Ibn Ezra on Mipnei Seva Takum. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and look there so I can blame him if it doesn't work out. That how would an old person's frailty be a glory? Okay, so it could be just that they made it that far. That's true. But maybe that's by accident, Okay, yeah. So remove from Taiva, and what did you say?
Makes them a little bit more value. Things that are frail, tend to be completely careful. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, it's possible. Let me refine my question. I mean, like, I'm kind of going based on your question about these don't sound like Mishleic values. So how could frailty be of use in a Mishleic value system? Is it in 18 or is it in 20? I think it's in 20. Okay, but yeah, I mean, that's true. But that's like, I feel like that they kind of do anyway. Like, you don't walk on the ice if you're old, because then you might slip and get injured. Zucchanim. It's in 19. Yeah. Ibn Ezra says, that's Zakhan. Sorry, hold on. Zakin. Okay, here we go. So Mipnei Seva Takum v'Hadar Pnei Zakin. arise because of gray hair or in the presence of gray hair and honor the presence of a chacham, and fear your God because I'm Hashem. So Ibn Ezra says, so why do you get up in the presence of an old person? Because of death, the dead person. An old person is close to death. His body is almost like a dead person's body. Okay, so I got from there that there is a certain thing. I thought Ibn Ezra said more explicitly. Hold on. No. So what I got from there is like when you are close to death and you're frail, you're in a much better poise to have a realistic perspective on the world. You know, like when you know that you're going to die, you make better decisions. You have a more of a clear perspective on what's of value in life and what's not. You know, these things are all fleeting. You know, that's the whole koheles and the whole stoicism of like thinking about death and how death could happen at any moment, and that being a vehicle of perfection. But with old people, it's not like I could get hit by a car. It's like I could not wake up tomorrow, you know? So there's a perfection in that.
Are you limiting it to just physical?
Well, I'm in this parish. I am, yeah. I'm saying that. So let's just go back to the pasuk then.
I feel like that could fit in very well with the non-physical approach as well. I mean, a child can have that mentality too if he, you know, if he's capable, if he has that maturity at a young age. Yeah, it's possible, but I'm comfortable saying that Mishlei is just talking about the normal case, you know, and I like the stages of life approach, you know. So how would this work then in the pasuk? So you could read it Isaac's way, where it's criticizing the bakurim, saying that these bakurim might take like, you know, pride or security in their youthfulness, but there's going to be a perfection, and therefore they might look down on the people who are older and not want to get old. But there is a perfection in getting old as well, which is that you're closer to death and you get those perfections, you know. And again, that's emphasizing the physical quality of seva being the opposite of physical strength. You know, certainly if you took seva as like wisdom, then that's an even better interpretation in terms of like what to look forward to. You know, that's like the other thing. Hold on, I definitely wrote something on this. The Ron has an explanation of aging. The Ron has this thing about how non-Jews grow old and how Jews grow old. He says that, so there's a Gemara. Oh, sorry, let me share this with Isaac. So this is in Drashos Haran. It's a Mishnah in Kիנים 3:6. We're all obviously bakurim and Mishnayos Kիנים. Rabbi Shimon ben Akashi says, elderly unlearned men, as long as they continue to age, their da'as becomes more agitated. As it says, he removes speech of the capable and takes away the reasoning of the elderly. But Torah elders are not like that. Rather, as long as they continue to age, their da'as becomes even more settled, misyasheves, as it is stated, in the aged is wisdom and in length of days understanding. So the Ran explains, this does not mean that as long as the Torah elders continue to age, the more their wisdom increases, for it is possible that this won't happen, Trump. Since the elder intellect is dependent upon the physical faculties, it is possible that when these men become exceedingly old, their faculties weaken, their intellect will also become weakened, but not like Trump. You know, that's talking about like physical aging. Rather, when the Mishnah says their das will become more settled, its meaning is as follows. In their youth, the Torah elders gave up their addictions to the pleasures of the physical world and chose the path of the good. Therefore, as they continue to age, their das becomes more settled. This means that they become more reconciled with themselves and their das becomes at ease with the decision of their youth. Meaning, when you're young and you give up partying and like the life of taiva, it's hard because everyone else is involved in taiva. But as you age, you're like, oh, that was a good decision to like not take that path. In other words, even though they decided in their youth to abandon their addictions to the pleasures of the physical world and its excesses, it is impossible that they are not occasionally drawn to them. Even though their intellect opposed this and prevented them from being seduced by the physical pleasures, it is impossible that they did not desire them to some degree. Therefore, their das was not completely settled in the youth, for they were caught between the two opposing forces. But the more they continue to age, the more their desires weaken. Their imaginative faculty, meaning like the fantasy, the part of them that generates fantasies, sees that everything it once fantasized about in the matters of the physical world was pointless, transient, and utterly futile. At that point, it is no longer necessary for their intellect to oppose the imaginative faculty and to dissent.
Therefore, their das is settled, for they clearly see that they had chosen the good and resolved to follow it, and everything they had forfeited in the matters of the physical world was worthless, and that there is no cause for feeling anxiety over its forfeiture. The opposite, we'll wrap up in a second, the opposite befalls the unlearned elders. In their youth, they were seduced by their addictions to the pleasures of the physical world. Their das was at ease and reconciled with this, and they didn't care about their intellect's opposition. But as they continue to age, the physical world withdraws from them, and they withdraw from it. They see that everything they once desired and chose in their youth was but nothingness, vanity, and that they only inherited falsehood. Because of this, their das is not settled with the decision of their youth. Like people, the people who live the life of taiva, as they get old, they just lose all the stuff that made their life worth living in their eyes. So their mind becomes agitated. Nevertheless, since they did not learn righteousness and they had become habituated and sunken in their bad habits, their intellect lacks the ability to turn completely away from the path which they have taken until now. Therefore, as they continue to age, they will be caught between the two paths. One last paragraph here. This is what the rabbis of blessed memory intended by the expression their das is agitated, as in the expression a ship that is mitarefes beyond, like a ship that's storm tossed on the sea. This expression refers to a ship in the middle of the ocean with oppressive waves thrusting the ship from one side to the other, and its sailors are unable to guide it on a single path. Instead, the wind pushes sometimes to one side and sometimes to the opposite. Likewise are those who are seduced by their addictions to the physical pleasures of the world as they continue to age. For in their youth, their das was settled, but in their old age, their das is agitated. So that also fits in with Isaac's way of reading the pasuk, where like the youth are going to be like living this koach-driven life of. I guess you have to say here that koach here, according to that approach, would be like involvement in the physical world, but the zucchanim will have seva, and that's like going to be a good thing, because they have, or it can be a good thing if actually we'd have to work out a shot of this. Yeah, let's leave this for tomorrow. Again, we'll do the meforshim tomorrow, but I think that run might factor into at least one of our approaches here. Okay, to be continued. All right, those good ideas.